How to use 10 ways to ensure tenant rent gets paid on time. Welcome back, I'm Nelius, and today we'll talk about the moment every landlord dreads. It's the first of the month, you check your bank account and nothing. No payment, no message, no heads up from your tenant, just silence. And suddenly, that mortgage payment, that insurance bill, that maintenance invoice you were counting on covering, it all starts feeling very heavy. If you've been there, you know exactly what I mean. And if you're new to this game, trust me, you want to do everything in your power to make sure you never have to experience it. Here's the thing though, the landlords who rarely, if ever, deal with late rent, they're not just lucky. They're not picking tenants out of thin air and hoping for the best. They have systems, they have strategies. They've built a framework around their rental business that makes paying rent on time the easiest, most natural thing for a tenant to do. And today I'm going to walk you through 10 of those strategies, backed by real case studies from real landlords who turned things around. And if at any point you're thinking, I want to go deeper into this, I want to actually build a professional property management system from the ground up, I'll be mentioning my effective property management course throughout this video. It's where landlords become members of a community that doesn't just hand you information, it transforms how you operate. All right, let's get into it. Number one, screen your tenants like your financial future depends on it, because it does. The single biggest predictor of whether rent gets paid on time is who you put in that property in the first place. And so many landlords skip proper screening because they're anxious to fill a vacancy. Don't be that landlord. Check credit history, verify employment and income, contact previous landlords, and look at rental history. A tenant who paid late at their last three places is probably going to pay late at yours too. The data doesn't lie. Your screening process is your first line of defense. Number two, set crystal clear expectations before they ever sign anything. Before a tenant even picks up a pen, they should know exactly when rent is due, how it's paid, what happens if it's late, and what happens if it's really late. Some landlords give a vague lease and then act surprised when tenants treat it vaguely. The clarity you establish at the beginning sets the tone for the entire tenancy. Walk through the lease with your tenant. Explain the late fee structure. Make sure they understand this is a professional arrangement and you take it seriously. Number three, make paying rent as easy as humanly possible. This sounds obvious, but you'd be shocked how many landlords still require checks mailed to a PO box. In this year, there is absolutely zero reason not to have an online payment system. Whether it's a dedicated property management software, a rent collection app, or an automated bank transfer setup, removing friction from the payment process dramatically increases the chances of on-time payment. Tenants who can pay rent in 30 seconds from their phone are far more likely to do it the moment they get paid than tenants who have to find a stamp and remember where they put their checkbook. Alright, here's our first case study. Meet Charles. Charles is a landlord with 6 single-family rental properties. For years, he collected rent via personal check, and every month he was chasing at least 2 or 3 tenants. He was stressed, his cash flow was unpredictable, and he was considering selling 2 of his properties. Then he implemented an online payment portal and set up auto-pay incentives where tenants who enrolled in automatic payments received a small monthly discount. Within 90 days, 5 of his 6 tenants were on autopay. Late payments dropped by 80%. His cash flow became predictable, and he stopped dreading the first of the month. The technology did the work for him. Simple change, massive impact. Number 4. Use a well-structured lease with real consequences. Your lease is not just a formality. It is a legally binding document that protects you and sets behavioral expectations. Your lease should clearly outline the exact date rent is due, the grace period if you offer one, the specific late fee amount, and the process that follows if payment isn't received. When tenants see a professionally written lease with specific dollar amounts attached to late payments, they take it seriously. And when you enforce those consequences consistently, they take you seriously too. The moment you waive a late fee without reason, you've just taught that tenant that the rules are negotiable. Number 5. Build a genuine relationship with your tenants. I know, this one might feel counterintuitive. You're thinking, I don't want to be their friend, I want them to pay rent. But here's the psychology behind it. Tenants who respect their landlord and feel respected in return are significantly more likely to communicate when something goes wrong. They'll tell you 3 weeks in advance that they lost their job rather than just going silent. That early communication gives you options. You can work out a payment plan. You can start the process of finding a new tenant earlier. You can make decisions from a position of information rather than panic. Relationship management is cash flow management. Number 6, implement a proactive reminder system. Don't wait for rent to be late before you communicate about it. Set up a system, automated or otherwise, that sends tenants a friendly reminder 3 to 5 days before rent is due. Something like, hey, just a heads up, rent is due on the 1st. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out now. This does two things. It keeps the due date top of mind, and it opens the door for early communication if there's a problem brewing. Many landlords who implement this simple step see their on-time payment rates jump immediately because sometimes tenants genuinely just forget. Now let's look at our second case study. This is Sandra and her husband David. They own a 12-unit apartment building. They had a persistent problem with about 30% of their tenants paying anywhere from a few days to 2 weeks late every single month. They thought their tenants just didn't have the money. Turns out the money was there, but there was no urgency. They implemented a reminder system combined with a small but meaningful early payment incentive, a $20 gift card draw for tenants who paid on the 1st. Sounds small, right? Within 4 months, their on-time payment rate went from 70% to 93%. The incentive cost them next to nothing relative to the stress it eliminated. Sometimes people just need a small nudge in the right direction. Number 7, know the difference between can't pay and won't pay. This is a critical distinction that experienced landlords understand deeply. A tenant who calls you, explains a temporary hardship, and proposes a payment plan is a very different situation from a tenant who dodges your calls, ignores your messages, and gives you every excuse in the book. For the first type, there's often a path forward that works for both parties. A short-term repayment plan, a one-time late fee waiver in exchange for catching up, these are tools you can use. For the second type, you need to follow your legal process promptly and decisively. Confusing these two categories leads to either being exploited or unnecessarily losing good tenants. Number 8, conduct regular property check-ins and maintenance responsiveness. Here's something the research consistently shows. Tenants who feel like their landlord cares about the property and about their living conditions are more likely to pay on time. When a tenant submits a maintenance request and you respond within 24 hours and get it fixed within a reasonable time frame, you've demonstrated that this is a professional, mutual relationship. On the flip side, tenants living in properties where the heat takes 3 weeks to get fixed and emails go unanswered start to feel resentful, and resentful tenants find all sorts of reasons to delay payment. Maintenance responsiveness is more connected to rent collection than most landlords realize. Let me give you case study number 3 here. His name is James and he manages a portfolio of 22 units across 3 properties. James was dealing with a particular building where late payments were almost the norm. Half his tenants were routinely late. He brought in a property inspector to assess the units, and what he found was alarming. Minor issues had been ignored for years, things like dripping faucets, drafty windows, sticky doors. He spent about $8,000 doing a comprehensive maintenance sweep of the building, fixing everything that had been neglected. He personally called each tenant, told them what was being done and why, and committed to a 48-hour maintenance response going forward. Within 2 months, late payments in that building dropped by 65%. The tenants felt valued. They paid on time. It really is that connected. Number 9, have a documented collections and escalation process. Hope is not a strategy. You need a step-by-step process written down for exactly what happens at each stage of a late payment situation. Day 1 late, send a written notice. Day 5, follow-up call and written reminder. Day 10, issue the official late fee and formal written notice as required by your local laws. Day 15, consult your attorney if needed and begin the eviction process paperwork. Having this documented and following it consistently serves two purposes. First, it protects you legally. Second, it signals to tenants that you operate a real business with real processes and that is not a landlord you want to test. Number 10, invest in your education and connect with other serious landlords. This is arguably the most powerful thing on this entire list because it's the foundation that everything else rests on. The landlords who struggle are often the ones trying to figure everything out alone, learning only through their own painful mistakes. The landlords who thrive are the ones who invest in systems, knowledge, and community. They read, they take courses, they talk to other landlords who've already solved the problems they're facing. Every strategy I've shared today, they didn't come from guesswork, they came from experience, from study, from the collective wisdom of property managers and landlords who have been in the trenches. And that brings me to something I genuinely believe can change your trajectory as a landlord. My effective property management course is designed exactly for this. Whether you're managing one property or 20, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for years and feel like things could be running smoother, this course gives you the frameworks, the tools, the templates, and the community you need to operate at a higher level. When you become a member, you're not just getting video content, you're joining a network of serious property owners who share insights, ask questions, hold each other accountable, and grow together. The investment you make in your knowledge pays dividends across every single property in your portfolio. Now, for our fourth and final case study, and this one is my favorite because it really ties everything together. Her name is Joni, and she inherited two properties from her uncle about 3 years ago. She had no property management background, no experience, and no idea what she was doing. In her first year, she had a nightmare tenant who paid late for 4 consecutive months before eventually abandoning the unit, leaving behind damage and unpaid rent. Joni was devastated and seriously considered just selling both properties. Instead, she enrolled in a structured property management course and completely rebuilt how she operated. She redid her screening process. She rewrote her lease with professional legal guidance. She implemented an online payment system. She created a maintenance response protocol. She built a documented escalation process. She also joined a community of landlords where she could ask questions and get real answers. In the 2 years since she overhauled her systems, she has had zero late payments beyond the grace period across both properties. Zero. She went from considering selling everything to actively looking for a third property to add to her portfolio. Education and systems, that is what changed her life. Let's bring this all together because here's what I want you to walk away understanding. Late rent is not inevitable. It is not just part of being a landlord. It is often a symptom of gaps in your systems, your processes, or your knowledge. The 10 strategies we've walked through today: rigorous tenant screening, setting clear expectations, making payment frictionless, having a structured lease with real consequences, building genuine tenant relationships, implementing proactive reminder systems, distinguishing between can't pay and won't pay, being a responsive and caring landlord, having a documented escalation process, and investing continuously in your education. These are not random tips, they work together as a system. When you implement them together, you create an environment where tenants are naturally inclined to pay on time, where problems surface early enough to address them, and where you're operating your rental business with the confidence of someone who knows exactly what they're doing. The landlords in our case studies, Charles, Sandra, and David, James, and Joni, they all had one thing in common before they turned things around. They were managing reactively. Something went wrong, they dealt with it. Another thing went wrong, they dealt with it. They were always behind. The shift happened when they started managing proactively, when they built systems in advance, when they stopped hoping rent would come in and started engineering circumstances where it almost always did. That's what I want for you. Whether you're watching this because you're struggling right now with a late paying tenant, or because you want to set your rental business up correctly from day one, or because you've been doing this for years and you know there's a better way, you're in the right place. If you're ready to go beyond this video and actually build the kind of property management operation that gives you predictable income and genuine peace of mind, I want you to check out my effective property management course. The link is right there in the description. As a member, you get access to comprehensive training modules, done for you templates, including lease agreements and communication scripts, a private community of landlords who actually engage and support each other, and ongoing content as the landscape of property management continues to evolve. This is not a course where you watch a few videos and forget about it. This is a membership where you grow as a property owner in real time. Look, being a landlord can be one of the most rewarding financial decisions you ever make, but only if you treat it like the business it is. The rent gets paid when you operate like a professional. It gets paid when your tenants respect you and the systems you've built. It gets paid when you've done the work upfront to screen properly, communicate clearly, and create conditions where paying on time is simply the natural thing to do. You've got 10 strategies, 4 real world case studies, and a community waiting for you. The next move is yours. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 10 strategies you're going to implement first. I read every single comment. And if this video added value to how you think about managing your properties, hit that like button and subscribe because there is so much more coming that you don't want to miss. I'll see you in the next one.